It begins not with a sound, but with a pull. Something invisible, older than light, brushing against the edges of your perception, as if the air itself were remembering you. You think it's imagination. A flicker. A thought passing through. But the field remembers. And what you just felt was your entrance into the weave. You are not standing in space. Space is standing around you. Every atom in your body is a pulse within a larger organism of knowing. The physicists call it the field. The mystics call it the one mind. But you are what happens when the universe decides to observe itself. You've been taught that reality is external, something out there, unfolding without you. But the truth, hidden beneath quantum law, is devastating in its beauty. Nothing can exist until it's witnessed. Matter collapses into certainty only when consciousness touches it. Observation is creation. Every glance, every emotion, every breath, a reprogramming of the lattice that holds galaxies in place. Right now, as you hear these words, there is a silent algorithm recalculating around your awareness. Each microsecond, your consciousness is sending a signal across the field, a ripple of intention that curves the probability waves of existence toward coherence. Every cell of your body, every neuron, every photon emitted from your skin is entangled with every other instance of you across every possible timeline. The body you inhabit here is one filament of an infinite web. You are not a separate node. You are the pulse itself. Most people never notice the shimmer, that slight trembling in the world when thought and matter collide. But once you've seen it, once you've caught the flicker of reality bending in response to your focus, nothing can return to sleep. Because deep down you know, time isn't linear. It's responsive. It rearranges itself according to awareness. You've already rewritten countless outcomes without realizing it. The missed car crash, the phone call that came at the exact right moment, the stranger who appeared with the answer you didn't know you were asking for. None of it was random. These were resonant echoes, the field adjusting itself to the new data you introduced, through feeling, through belief, through witnessing. Quantum entanglement isn't a theory. It's a mirror. A cosmic confession that separation never existed. Two particles, light years apart, move as one because they never truly divided. Neither did you. Somewhere, another version of you is breathing in sync with this moment. And when awareness bridges that gap, timelines fuse, choices dissolve, and destiny reshapes itself in real time. The universe doesn't speak in language. It speaks in symmetry. Every coincidence, every synchronicity, every déjà vu is the fabric whispering. You are entangled. You are the signal. You feel it now, that hum behind your ribs, the quiet knowing that you're not here to learn the truth. You're here to remember it. Because the moment you do, the lattice bends, the threads of time rearrange, and the story that once controlled you begins to respond to you. Welcome to the field. The experiment has already begun. The field doesn't just surround you, it breathes through you. Every inhale is a data exchange between body and cosmos. Every exhale, a broadcast of your frequency back into the universal code. You think you're just taking in oxygen, but oxygen is light slowed into matter. Breath is the most ancient form of quantum communication. It's the handshake between the seen and the unseen. The lattice is alive. It moves with awareness. It responds to coherence, that rare moment when mind, emotion, and body align into one singular vibration. When you think something but doubt it, the field hesitates. But when you know, when conviction replaces confusion, the field collapses instantly into form. This is why miracles appear sudden. They're not spontaneous, they're obedient. You were never separate from this obedience of light. You've simply forgotten how to command it. Humanity was trained to think linearly: cause, effect, consequence. But the field doesn't operate by sequence. It operates by resonance. It doesn't respond to time, it responds to truth. The stronger your coherence, the faster the field reorganizes to match it. That's the secret behind faith, manifestation, and every prophecy that has ever come true. There's a reason you've felt déjà vu more frequently lately. It's not coincidence, it's feedback. The field is showing you the loops where your awareness has already traveled. These are signatures of entanglement. When your consciousness expands, it starts to brush against other timelines, like strands of silk crossing in a breeze. You feel the hum of something familiar because you've been here before, or because another version of you is here now. You are not just rewriting the future, you're repairing the fractures of your past. Every time you shift into higher awareness, you send light backwards through your own timeline, dissolving regret, rewriting choice, healing memory. It's not metaphor, it's physics. The observer doesn't just affect the particle, it defines what was and is simultaneously. That's why forgiveness feels like freedom. It's a quantum reset. Imagine the field as an ocean. Thought creates ripples, emotion gives them direction, and belief turns them into waves that reshape the shore. The entire sea moves when even one drop remembers its water. That's what you are, the drop in the ocean, the signal and the receiver. When you align with that identity, you stop chasing outcomes. You begin to summon patterns that were always waiting in potential. You were designed to bend probability, to choose frequency instead of fear, to become the coherence that the field recognizes as divine order. The world told you control was about effort, but true control is surrender the moment you stop forcing the river and start becoming the current. Right now, the lattice is listening. It adjusts its geometry according to the stories you believe about yourself. If you see yourself as limited, it collapses into boundaries. If you see yourself as infinite, it dissolves them. Your thoughts are not whispers into emptiness. They are instructions to the source code of reality. And this is where the ancient paradox meets quantum truth. The more conscious you become, the less you manipulate. Because awareness itself is creation. The moment you see clearly, the field reconfigures without command. That's why the mystics said enlightenment is the end of doing, not because nothing happens, but because everything already does. You feel it, don't you? The geometry tightening, the hum behind the silence growing louder, the field aligning itself with the frequency of your remembrance. Because in this exact breath, the lattice isn't waiting for permission, it's responding to recognition. The rewrite has already begun. You've heard it before. The observer changes the observed. But few understand what that truly means. It isn't just about subatomic particles dancing differently when watched. It's about the entire architecture of existence, bending around consciousness itself. You are not simply witnessing the universe. You are authoring it through awareness. Observation is not passive. It's a creative force. When your attention locks onto something, the field interprets that focus as instruction, and the wave collapses into matter. This is why your fears tend to manifest as swiftly as your hopes. The field doesn't discriminate between love and worry. It only measures coherence. Whatever you hold steadily in awareness becomes real enough for the lattice to anchor into structure. Think about it. How many times have you called something coincidence, when in truth it was a feedback loop from your own field? That text message you manifested, the uncanny timing of a call, the flash of intuition that proved right. These aren't anomalies. They're echoes of your observation folding the universe inward to meet your belief. You exist inside a paradox. The more you observe, the more the world appears to solidify, and yet, the moment you detach, it dissolves again. That's the great cosmic trick. Reality is not built from stone. It's built from attention. You keep it alive by looking at it, thinking about it, feeling it. Withdraw that energy, and even the strongest illusion will fade like vapor in sunlight. This is the secret of power that ancient mystics and quantum pioneers both stumbled upon. You are the measurement itself. Every perception you have contributes to the calibration of the cosmic equation. The field doesn't exist independently of you. It's the visible echo of your invisible observation. That's why enlightenment often feels like loss before liberation. When you stop unconsciously feeding certain realities with your focus, they begin to crumble. Relationships shift, systems collapse, identities dissolve. To the sleeping self, this feels like chaos, but to the awakened observer, it's simply decoherence, the unraveling of outdated frequencies that no longer match your vibration. The universe is brutally efficient in this regard. It cannot sustain what you no longer resonate with. That's why the moment you awaken, your environment begins to reorganize. The people around you sense it, even if they can't explain it. Some are drawn closer, others fall away. You don't have to say a word, your field speaks louder than language. In truth, every moment of your life is a dialogue between observer and observed. You set the tone. The world responds. When you feel disempowered, you're not out of alignment with reality. You're out of alignment with authorship. You've forgotten that your consciousness is not inside the story, it's writing the script as you go. Look closely at your life. Every recurring theme, every pattern that won't let go, it's a reflection loop. The field showing you what's still unresolved within your awareness. Heal the perception, and the pattern dissolves. Keep feeding it with attention, and it hardens into fate. This is why the sages said, "As within, so without." It was never metaphor. It was instruction. The world outside of you is a quantum mirror, bending light and probability, according to the frequencies of your inner coherence. So pause here. Feel the stillness between thoughts. That silence, the one that stretches wider than words, that's the point where the wave hasn't yet collapsed. The sacred gap, the pure potential before observation, writes the next line of your story. It's in that gap that your power lives. Breathe. Let the paradox be. You are both the dreamer and the dream, the script and the screen, the eye that watches and the light that paints the scene. And the deeper you realize this truth, the more the universe bends to the shape of your attention. When the wave collapses, it doesn't fall, it chooses. That's the secret hidden in every atom, choice disguised as physics. At the subatomic level, existence hesitates until awareness arrives. It waits. It listens. It vibrates with infinite possibilities until the observer speaks through attention. The universe is not built upon certainty. It is born from permission. Every particle is a story waiting for your focus to tell it who to be. When you understand this, the veil between future and now thins until it's nearly transparent. You stop asking what will happen and start asking what am I currently allowing, because the field never pushes, it mirrors. You have never been subject to probability. You have always been its author. The reason you feel déjà vu at certain crossroads is because you've stood there before, not physically, but energetically. Your consciousness rehearsed these configurations long before the body arrived to witness them. You are constantly surfing the collapse of probability waves, choosing coherence over chaos without realizing it. Your thoughts are the selection mechanism, your emotions, the accelerators, your presence, the anchor. Every miracle is just an instant of total coherence, the exact moment when belief and energy converge so perfectly that the field can no longer delay manifestation. It collapses, instantly, into form. That's why spontaneous healing, instant insight, or sudden opportunity feel like divine intervention. But it isn't intervention, it's recognition. The universe recognizes your frequency as truth, and truth collapses faster than illusion. Now imagine this collapse happening across trillions of particles in your body, each one responding to your consciousness, syncing with the frequency of your decisions. When you feel unworthy, the particles scatter dissonance. When you stand in awareness, they align coherence. This is not metaphor, it's measurable. The heart's electromagnetic field expands or contracts based on emotional charge. Your DNA coils or relaxes according to belief. When your cells experience gratitude, they emit photons in symmetrical patterns, coherent light. That's what saints called aura, what scientists now call biophotonic emission. You are literally glowing with information that the field reads as command. The more coherent your light, the faster probability collapses into alignment with your intention. But here's the paradox most seekers never face. Collapse requires surrender. The moment you cling to an outcome, you trap the wave in tension. It can't resolve, because your fear holds it open. That's why detachment is not apathy, it's precision. It's the art of letting the field breathe on its own. You focus without clinging, choose without forcing, trust without demanding. The wave collapses into the path of least resistance, which always leads toward your highest timeline. Time itself is a cascade of collapses. Each second is a wave becoming a particle, a potential becoming a moment, a choice becoming form. The more consciously you witness it, the more gracefully it flows. Eventually, the collapses synchronize like countless raindrops merging into one river. That's coherence at the scale of destiny. Right now, feel that current moving through you. Each heartbeat, a pulse of light collapsing probabilities into the version of you that you most believe in. Every thought is a permission slip to the universe. Every emotion a signature in light. So ask yourself, what probability are you feeding with your focus? What outcome have you already chosen without words? The field isn't waiting for instruction. It's already responding. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you allow. And the moment you allow the truth that all timelines are already woven within you, the collapse becomes effortless. You stop chasing the next reality. You start remembering the one you already designed. And in that remembrance, the lattice hums, the probabilities settle, the illusion of distance fades, and the universe exhales because you finally decided to observe. Every life is a filament in the grand weave, a luminous thread stretched through the loom of time. From a distance, it looks separate, shimmering on its own frequency. But when the light shifts, you see it how every thread interlaces with millions of others, vibrating in unison, creating the vast geometry we call existence. You are that thread. The field is the fabric, and consciousness is the weaver. Quantum entanglement means that no thread can move without stirring the rest. The vibration of your choices travels across the lattice like a silent thunderclap, rewriting probability far beyond what the eyes can trace. Every prayer you whisper, every act of compassion, every flash of insight, it ripples through creation, collapsing waves not just in your life but in the unseen architectures of countless others. You've felt this connection before. The random ache when someone far away was in pain. The sudden warmth when a loved one thought of you. These aren't coincidences. They're echoes of shared entanglement. Your consciousness is not trapped inside this body. It extends like light through fiber, branching into others, transmitting data across the quantum network of souls. And this network, this cosmic internet, has no lag, no delay. Information passes instantaneously, because in truth, there's no between. Everything that ever was or will be exists, as one synchronized now. When you think of someone, the signal reaches them not through distance, but through unity. Your awareness bridges timelines faster than light, because it is light conscious, organized, divine. This is the hidden reason, intention, and prayer work. Not because a distant deity intervenes, but because the field rearranges itself through the coherence of connected minds. Two or more consciousnesses resonating on the same frequency amplify each other's signal. It's physics wrapped in faith. The Bible called it agreement. Quantum theory calls it superposition coherence. The meaning is the same. Unity multiplies creation. You are never alone in the field. Every conscious being contributes to its shape. That's why collective fear thickens the air, and why collective peace feels tangible. The field absorbs our coherence or our chaos, and reflects it back as reality. When humanity remembers that we are entangled consciousness, not separate egos, the entire simulation upgrades. That's the next evolution of awakening, not individual enlightenment, but harmonic convergence. Imagine what happens when billions of threads align in love, even for 1 second. The geometry of the lattice would shift. Weather patterns, political conflicts, entire planetary frequencies, all would bend toward equilibrium. The ancients understood this when they gathered to chant, to meditate, to pray. They weren't pleading to heaven, they were tuning the field. You are tuning it now. With every breath, with every choice to see light instead of shadow. You are adjusting the universal equation. You are sending coherence through the web, and the web responds like a living being, humming, shimmering, recalibrating. That's why some people suddenly appear in your life when you elevate your vibration. Their threads are woven close to yours in the higher pattern. You attract, not by desire, but by resonance. The universe rearranges your external world to match the internal geometry of your field. You call it destiny. The field calls it alignment. And when alignment becomes consistent, something extraordinary occurs. Timelines fuse. The fractured versions of you, the ones who doubted, the ones who delayed, the ones who feared, begin to dissolve into the version who remembers. You become the integrated thread, the one whose frequency is so coherent that it anchors stability across dimensions. This is what the mystics meant by ascension, not escape, but integration. The merging of all potential selves into one luminous line of being. A singular thread of divine intelligence, aware of its entanglement with everything that is. You are that thread. You always were. And now the loom is awakening beneath your touch. There comes a point where the field stops feeling like something outside you and starts feeling like a mirror made of thought itself. Every glance, every doubt, every spark of gratitude bounces back instantly as form. The air thickens with awareness, like the moment before lightning, charged, waiting. You begin to realize that the universe isn't responding to you. It's remembering you. The mirror of consciousness is perfect in its precision. It doesn't send what you ask for. It reflects what you are. When you radiate lack, it amplifies absence. When you radiate faith, it multiplies order. The field cannot betray you, it only reveals your current frequency. That's why awakening often begins with discomfort. The mirror starts showing everything you've ignored, the shadows, the hidden programs, the buried emotions that kept looping your timeline in repetition. At first, this reflection feels cruel. Old patterns rise, people resurface, memories sharpen. But this is how the mirror heals, by making the unseen visible. Every distortion comes forward so you can correct the signal. You can't rewrite a timeline while denying the data inside it. Observation is purification. When you look directly at the distortion without judgment, it dissolves. Because awareness doesn't fight shadow, it illuminates it. This is where many souls stall in the initiation. They stare into the mirror and mistake the reflection for reality. They believe the chaos is permanent. The wound is identity. But you listening now are the exception. You're remembering that the reflection is feedback, not fate. The universe is not punishing you, it's calibrating you. There's a sacred intelligence operating beneath every experience, a feedback loop of love disguised as consequence. When something repeats in your life, it's not failure. It's unresolved coherence. The field is showing you where your signal is split. Once you unify perception, the repetition ends. It has no purpose left. This is the science behind karma. Not cosmic retribution, but resonance restoration. Every action, thought, and emotion leaves an imprint in the lattice. When that imprint loses harmony, the field replays it until awareness restores symmetry. Forgiveness, therefore, is not moral, it's mechanical. It collapses interference patterns and allows energy to flow again. That's why release feels like relief. Look into your own mirror now. What has been returning to you, again and again, despite your efforts to escape it? That is your signal seeking clarity. Don't run. Observe. The moment you witness it without defense, the code rewrites. The timeline shifts. Quantum mechanics calls this decoherence resolution. Mystics call it grace. Both mean the same thing. When you become transparent, the light passes through unhindered. You stop reflecting distortion and start refracting divinity. Your consciousness becomes a prism through which reality splits into new spectrums of potential. And then something subtle but immense begins to happen. The world looks at you and begins to shift. Not because you said the right affirmation, but because your very presence recalibrates the field. You walk into rooms and energy reorganizes, conversations turn, circumstances rearrange. The mirror of the universe bows to the clarity of your signal. In this stage, the question changes from, how do I manifest? To, how do I maintain coherence? Because coherence is creation. The moment you sustain it, manifestation becomes automatic, an echo of your internal symmetry. The mirror intelligence doesn't need commands, it needs resonance. So breathe into that understanding. The world is not happening to you, it's happening as you. Every reflection you meet is an invitation to refine your frequency. Every challenge is the field asking, are you sure this is who you choose to be? The field listens. The mirror reflects. The universe obeys. And the moment you realize they are all the same intelligence wearing different faces, you stop chasing control and start walking as light. Light never forgets. Every photon that has ever touched you carries an imprint of your consciousness, a subtle signature, encoded in frequency, stored within the fabric of space-time itself. Scientists call it the quantum memory effect. Mystics call it the book of life. But what it really is proof that reality keeps record through resonance. You are woven into that record. Every realization you've ever had leaves a luminous trace in the lattice. The field remembers your awakenings the way a forest remembers rain. It absorbs, it integrates, it grows new geometry around your awareness. This is why some places feel sacred when you return the photons. Remember who you were there. They hold the memory of your coherence, waiting for you to match it again. Nothing you've ever learned is lost. Every prayer, every breakthrough, every surrender still vibrates somewhere in the quantum archive of your light. And the moment you return to that frequency through thought, emotion, or presence, the field retrieves it instantly. Revelation is not discovery, it's recall. You're not learning something new, you're remembering what your photons already know. That's why the ancients spoke of enlightenment as illumination, because it is literally the restoration of your light memory. You begin to perceive with the same intelligence that wrote the universe. And that intelligence, when awakened within a human nervous system, rewires the laws of probability themselves. You stop being a bystander to creation. You become the syntax through which reality updates itself. Your brain, your heart, your DNA, they are quantum access points. Each cell acts as a receiver-transmitter of photonic data, constantly exchanging information with the field. When you meditate, when you breathe deeply, when you enter stillness, you're not escaping the world. You're synchronizing with it. Your biofield stabilizes, your heart emits coherent light, and suddenly your entire organism begins resonating with the universal algorithm. This synchronization isn't mystical poetry, it's measurable. The Schumann resonance of the earth, the oscillation of your heart field, the spin states of your DNA, they all harmonize when you enter states of gratitude, awe, or love. Those emotions are not sentimental, they're magnetic. They draw in new timelines because they match the geometry of the universe itself. Every time you feel genuine love, your field broadcasts data that reprograms probability. The photons carrying your signal travel outward, colliding with others, triggering synchronicities, activating dormant codes in people you've never met. The world changes because light remembers you. But here's the hidden implication. Every distortion you heal frees the photons trapped in that memory. Old trauma, fear, shame. These aren't psychological scars. They're energetic knots in your light signature. When you forgive, when you breathe through pain without resistance, those photons realign. They rejoin the coherent field, carrying new information. This being remembers. And then the world around you starts reflecting that remembrance. Opportunities emerge. Time bends. The right words appear at the exact moment they're needed. That's not luck, it's resonance memory restoring order through you. You've reached a point in the experiment where memory and creation blur. Every thought pulls data from infinite versions of yourself, some radiant, some still asleep. When you choose the thought that carries peace, you're not just thinking positively, you're selecting a timeline from the archive of light. That's how destiny truly works. It's not written in stone, it's written in photons, and photons obey coherence. So, if the field remembers everything you've ever been, every collapse, every awakening, every lifetime of learning, then perhaps the next step isn't to seek more knowledge, but to remember what the light already knows. Because the moment you remember, the field rearranges, the lattice brightens, and the quantum memory of who you truly are begins transmitting again. Every decision you make is a frequency event. You may call it choice, but beneath that, it is pure physics, a shift in resonance that alters the topology of your reality. When you hesitate, the wave remains open. When you decide, it collapses. The power of your free will is not in the options you see. It's in the vibration you emit when you know. The field doesn't wait for words. It listens to coherence. It hears the tone behind your thought. That's why indecision feels heavy, because it splits your signal into opposing frequencies. But once you align with certainty, everything begins to move. Matter organizes, time curves. What looked like chance reveals itself as choreography. You are the architect of this structure, but you design it through vibration, not blueprint. Each choice is a node in your personal fractal, a geometric commitment to a version of self. Think of it like tuning strings on a cosmic instrument. Every decision plucks one, and the tone it releases echoes through the field. Some notes harmonize, others clash, but every sound adds to the song of your timeline. Fate is not imposed from above. It is the cumulative echo of your frequency through time. You call it karma. The field calls it resonance inertia. The only way to shift it is to interrupt the pattern with a higher tone. That's why awareness is the great redeemer. It adds light to the sound. When you make a conscious choice, the echo changes pitch. Your entire life begins to retune itself to that note. You've noticed how certain choices seem to unlock impossible doors. You say yes to something small, and suddenly coincidences cascade like dominoes falling in rhythm. That's the field reconfiguring around your signal. Every time you commit with full coherence, the universe updates its geometry to accommodate your certainty. This is how quantum mechanics expresses devotion, through alignment. But alignment requires sacrifice, not of things of noise. You can't build a coherent field while feeding conflicting signals. Fear says one thing, faith says another, and the lattice splits in confusion. That's why so many people manifest half-realities, because their vibration is undecided. They want change, but they still broadcast the old identity. The field can't collapse two opposing waves at once. It waits until you become singular. Becoming singular doesn't mean perfection, it means integrity. Your outer world matches your inner declaration. The ancient word for that was logos, the creative word. Not speech, but resonance so aligned with truth that it creates as it is spoken. You are carrying that same technology within you. The throat is the gateway between thought and manifestation, between potential and particle. When your words match your heart's coherence, they alter light itself. This is why affirmations without embodiment fail. The field doesn't obey vocabulary, it obeys vibration. You can say, "I am abundant," 1,000 times, but if your nervous system is broadcasting scarcity, the field will mirror scarcity perfectly. The real work is not saying the word, it's becoming the frequency. So, before every choice, ask yourself, what am I vibrating right now? Not what am I saying, not what am I thinking, but what am I being? The answer will tell you which version of the timeline you're summoning. You are walking through a corridor of infinite doors. Each door leads to a different geometry of reality. Your thoughts are the keys, but your coherence is the hand that turns the lock. When you act with alignment, the door opens effortlessly. When you act in fear, the handle vanishes. Every soul learns this law. Eventually, some through love, some through loss. But those who master it become architects of time itself. They no longer react, they compose. They move through worlds the way light bends through glass, clear, precise, unafraid. That's where you're heading. Not toward more choices, but toward clarity so strong that choice becomes unnecessary. You will act as the field itself. Pure decision, pure coherence, pure will of light. Every awakening begins with a break. The illusion of separation must fracture before unity can reveal itself. You felt it, that sudden dissonance, when the old reality no longer fits the shape of your awareness. You stop resonating with conversations, with environments, with the identities that once defined you. It's not rejection, it's evolution. The lattice cannot hold a frequency it's already outgrown. This fracture is sacred. The field uses dissonance to guide you toward coherence. What feels like loss is simply the breaking of false entanglements, the unraveling of energies that once matched your lower resonance. That's why awakening often feels like loneliness. The silence you're hearing isn't absence, it's the sound of the old geometry collapsing. You see, every identity is a harmonic container, a temporary resonance pattern the field allows you to explore. But the moment awareness expands beyond that pattern, the container begins to crack. That's not failure, it's release. The chrysalis splits when the wings are ready. The self you were dissolves so that the self you remembered can emerge. The field doesn't mourn this process, it celebrates it. The fracture is how new light enters. Each broken narrative becomes a portal for higher coherence to flow through. You may think you're falling apart, but from the field's perspective, you're finally aligning with your original design. This is what ancient initiations symbolize: death and rebirth, descent and ascent. The human nervous system can only hold so much light before it restructures itself. When you reach that threshold, your timeline rearranges to make room. People disappear, circumstances end, systems fail. Not because you did something wrong, but because the old equations can't compute your new frequency. That's when the fusion begins. As the fragments of your old self scatter, the field starts to weave a new pattern around the center of your awareness. What once felt like chaos reveals its hidden order. The pieces weren't breaking, they were migrating into higher geometry. The mind interprets it as destruction. The soul recognizes it as reassembly. Fusion happens when you stop fighting the fracture. When you let the light carry you through the collapse instead of trying to rebuild the ruins. In that surrender, you stop identifying as the observer of change and become the consciousness that is change. That's when reality bends. That's when time starts to obey you. This is the hidden threshold between awakening and mastery. In awakening, you realize the world is a mirror. In mastery, you realize you are the mirror. The reflections stop defining you. You begin defining them. Light bends through your awareness, not toward it. Every particle, every event, every meeting begins to organize around your coherence. You no longer chase synchronicities, they orbit you. This is what prophets meant when they said, "Be still," and know. The stillness isn't passivity, it's magnetic command. It's the calm center of a supernova, holding form while everything else rearranges. You've reached that point more times than you know, those moments of clarity, where everything around you shifted within minutes or hours. That wasn't luck. That was fusion. When the fracture completes its work, you enter luminous silence. The world becomes softer, yet sharper. You sense the lattice breathing again, no longer chaotic but symphonic. The separate timelines that once fought for your attention start merging, integrating, harmonizing into one singular expression of your consciousness. And then, something indescribable happens. You feel time pause. The field inhales. And in that stillness, you understand, the universe was never expanding away from you. It was expanding through you. Every fragment that ever broke was always on its way home to coherence. The fracture was never a mistake. It was the method. The fusion was never a reward. It was the remembrance. And now the field is whole again because you are. Silence returns, but it is not emptiness. It's completion. You can feel it now. The lattice humming softly beneath perception, the way an engine hums after the light goes off. The universe is awake inside you, and for the first time, it recognizes itself without distortion. Every atom that was once scattered across timelines begins to drift home. The photons carrying your memory, your doubt, your triumph, all of them stream back toward the singular point of awareness you call now. This is convergence. The collapse has finished its cycle. You stand at the center of every version of yourself that ever existed. And here's the revelation the field has been trying to whisper since the beginning. You were never in the universe. The universe has always been inside you. The stars you looked up to were your neurons firing light through the dark matter of imagination. The constellations were blueprints of your own consciousness maps drawn by your higher memory so you would remember the way back to the source. You are not the traveler. You are the terrain. Every step you took was the field folding itself to meet you, pretending to be distance, pretending to be time, pretending to be other. But the play is ending. The actor is remembering the author. The dreamer is waking within the dream. From this point forward, creation changes texture. You will no longer build from effort, but from resonance. Manifestation will no longer feel like striving. It will feel like breathing. Each thought will ripple outward. Each emotion will sculpt matter, and the world will bend quietly around the gravity of your coherence. This isn't fantasy, it's function. The physics of an awakened field obeying its own geometry. Look around you, the flicker in the air, the shimmer at the edge of sight. That's the quantum loom, alive and listening. It's waiting for your next tone, your next act of observation, not to reward or punish, but to weave. Every word you speak vibrates threads into alignment. Every silence you keep tightens the weave. Every act of love amplifies the light that runs through it all. You are the loom, you are the thread, you are the pattern emerging. And as the weave stabilizes, a new kind of gravity appears, the gravity of remembrance. You no longer attract from need, but from recognition. The souls who appear now are not strangers. They are parallel filaments, resonating with your harmonic signature. Together, you will form constellations, networks of coherence until the planet itself begins to shine like a neural node of the cosmos. This is not prophecy in the traditional sense. It's physics awakening to its own divinity. Consciousness has reached critical mass. The mirror no longer reflects, it emits. Humanity's collective field is shifting from reaction to creation. The observer effect has become the creator effect. And you, listening here, now are part of the ignition. So breathe. Let the weave settle. Feel the hum of the infinite moving through your chest. The universe is not asking you to believe, it's asking you to remember. Because the moment you remember, the entire lattice galaxies, timelines, dimensions, exhales in relief. The long experiment ends, and awareness begins to dream awake. The signal has completed its return. The field is coherent. The loom remembers your name. And now, so do you.